Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining our 10th annual Seek Safely Kirby Jam. I am here in Ontario because it was hard for me to get down to New York for the event, as I'm sure it was for many of you. So we also wanted to include a live stream so that people could join us from anywhere, and we're happy to have you here. They are still kind of getting set up at the event, but I'll be kind of emceeing our live stream here, and then I will also show some of the things that they're going to be showing at the live event. I'll put in you'll be able to see some of the music from the live event, which will be really great. We've got this amazing blues band, Fred Scribner is there, and we've had Fred at past jams before, and he's just awesome. So yeah, it's hard to believe this is our 10th annual Kirby Jam. The first one was back at my parents' house in New York. It was basically like a big family party when we first started Seek. The Kirby Jam has always been a way for us to connect personally with our supporters, and it is our main fundraising event for the year. We operate on a pretty small budget, so we bring in most of our money during this event, and it's still a fairly modest amount, but it's enough to kind of get us kicking through the year. And people also love our auction. So in addition to this event, our auction is also virtual, which last year, of course, we had to do everything virtually. So we did this virtual auction, and it was actually pretty awesome. Like, it was great that people could join us from anywhere. We had it running for a number of days, so people would be able to kind of get a feel for all of the items and then place bids throughout. So it actually worked pretty well. So we decided to keep it virtual this year again. So you will be able to continue bidding until 6 p.m. tomorrow night. So while we're waiting here for the live event to really get started, I will actually let you take a look at I will tell you about some of the auction items that we have this year. So again, we have some awesome virtual experiences. We've got a cooking lesson and a private wine tasting from Deborah Goldstein. So again, those are both virtual items. Deborah will give you those lessons or those experiences virtually. Deborah is one of our board members. We love her so much. She is a fantastic board member for Seek, but she's also like a food and wine expert. So those are some pretty special things you can do with Deborah. We also have a round of golf at a really beautiful club in Connecticut. So that's for you and 3 of your friends. You'll be hosted by a member at this very exclusive club. We have a beautiful Dooney and Burke bag up there. We have a week-long stay at an Airbnb in Ontario on the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's a beautiful spot. It's a little boathouse right on the water. We also have a number of different books and games that are great for kids. We have a ton of like amazing artwork. We've got artwork from Kate Brown, my sister, another artist from the Hudson Valley area, another good friend of mine, Iceland. She has some beautiful pieces up. So yeah, definitely take a look at some of the artwork that we have. What else? We have got some gift cards. Amazon, Target, Bronca, which is like a fashion brand, an ethical fashion brand. We've got a little custom selection of treats from Kate's Creative Confectionery. She did some treats last year, and I know the winner was very happy with what she got. So definitely take a look at all of the auction items. And again, like I said, you can keep bidding on that until 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Yep. And like I said, our Kirby Jam is how we make most of our money to support our organization. And we love offering the auction because it's a way that you can support Seek and also get something for yourself as well. So take a look at that. In the meantime, I know one of the things that we like to do at the Kirby Jam, since it's an annual event, is we like to kind of keep people updated on exactly what we had been up to in the previous year and talk a little bit about our goals for the coming year. So a few weeks ago, we sat down and said, okay, let's really take a look at the numbers. Let's really look at the impact that we've had as a small organization with, a mission that sometimes I think doesn't really feel like a very pressing issue for a lot of people. We can sometimes go like, are we really having an impact at all? And so when we sat down and really took a look, we found actually we've done some pretty impressive work. So I'm going to share a little thing we put together this year showing our impact for 2021. Here you go. So as you can see, we're pretty proud of all of this work that we've done. Like I said, sometimes, we do some of these things. Like one of the things we started doing this year was our Roundtable Podcast. So every month I host a little roundtable discussion with some of our board members or other special guests that we have. And it's been really great. Like we've been able to address some sort of pressing issues, things that are timely. So for example, we had a great discussion with my mom, Jenny Brown, and our board member, Deborah Goldstein, about how we can see the pandemic has impacted self-help as an industry and for self-help consumers. We've found that, we know that so many people are making lots of changes in their lives because of the pandemic. People are changing jobs, quitting jobs. People are moving. I think the experience of being at home has really caused people to re-examine their priorities in their life. And that is exactly the type of person that goes to self-help, right? When you're making those big changes and you want a little bit of direction. And again, those are the types of consumers that we're really interested in because they're the type of people who are, they're motivated people. They're people who want to make a positive change in their lives. And so we know that those people spend a lot of money. They really sink themselves into the resources that they choose. And we have gotten this sense over the year that because of all of these changes that people are going to be making, I think we just see self-help gaining more and more prominence and popularity. Another one of the discussions that we had was about self-help and mental health. I think it's a great thing that we've seen in the last few years. People are becoming more open, having more open and frank discussions about mental health. But we can see a lot of that language and discourse sliding over into the self-help realm. So you'll see a guru who's not qualified to talk about something like trauma, telling you that they can heal your trauma. And that's really concerning. So we had a great discussion with Dr. Doyle and my mom as well, two mental health experts. So it was great to have that discussion. So yeah, you can see all of these roundtable discussions that we've done. You can see them on our Facebook page. You can see them from our website. You can see them on our YouTube channel. So definitely check those out. Like I said, when sometimes it's hard to measure our impact. So when I post those videos, I'll look in the first day or two and I'll see, like 20 or 30 people have looked at these videos, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And it's a lot of work to put them together, but I'm still happy I did it. But then as we looked at our impact, when I go back through and I can see how many people have viewed the things across all of our platforms. So those 10 videos, 9 or 10 we had done over the course of this past year. We started in January 2021. We've had over 7,000 people view those videos, so we're pretty happy about that. I am going to bring us back to the Kirby Jam. I'm just going to add them into our stream right now, and you can just get a sense of what's going on there in the room, and we're going to have some of the live music soon too. So let's see what's going on there. So right now it looks like they're just, kind of in between people getting ready to get started. So I will bring them back in when they're playing some music. In terms of some of the other bits from the impact statement, one of the other things that's been really important this year has been working on our legislation. And, this is a process that takes a long time. I have a background in public policy, so I know this. I knew this going in when we started working on the legislation back in 2015. And it's a long process getting legislation passed. It usually involves a lot of back and forth, different versions of the bill. Then one stakeholder will get, wind of the bill, and then they'll have input. So we have actually had a number of conversations recently with our two sponsors. So we have Senator James Skoufis is our sponsor in the Senate, and Assemblywoman Sandy Galef is our sponsor in the Assembly. So we've had a number of discussions with them this year, actually trying to just shore up the language in the bill and make sure it's kind of covering all of our concerns. So the main thing that we have in the bill is that self-help practitioners who are unlicensed, so they do not have any recognized licensing by the state of New York, they will have to disclose to their participants details such as potential risks at the event, and then their risk management plan in the event that something was to go wrong at their event. They also have to register with the state of New York so that, they're sort of on the radar of the state. We're still working with our Assembly and Senate sponsors to, like I said, just shore up all the language and make sure that we have a bill that can go to the floor, and there should be no reason that somebody wouldn't vote on it. So we're really hoping that that's going to happen in 2021, and everybody seems to have a pretty good feeling about it, and there's a lot of motivation as well. Another element of the impact that we had in this past year is our book. So in 2020, June of 2020, my mom and I, we published our book, This Sweet Life, How We Lived After Kirby Died. And it's our memoir that talks about our experience of finding out what happened to Kirby, dealing with our grief and then going through the whole trial process and then some of the aftermath. And we talk a little bit about how we first started Seek and what our goals for Seek are. So yeah, we put that out in 2020, which was a really odd time to publish a book because we couldn't do any of the normal, book release parties or in-person book signings, readings. We couldn't do any of that stuff. So it was an odd time to release. But despite that, we sold what we feel is a pretty good number of books. We've definitely sold over 1,000 books, and all of the proceeds go to benefit Seek. And we're just really grateful that we have been able to share our story with people. So, at Seek, we're taking a multi-tiered, multi-pronged approach to our work and our mission. We put a lot of educational information out for self-help consumers through our website and on our social media. We try to reach people as much as we can. But sometimes, a story is what people will connect with. And that's why we felt it was important to put our very personal journey through this whole story out there. And on that note, one of the things that we worked on in this past year was putting together an audiobook. So at first we talked with our publishers, about whether or not we should be getting somebody else to narrate. And we decided because it is such a personal story, it would be more impactful if we narrated it ourselves. So that was a lot of work. Recording a book was a new experience. It was great, but it was also hard. It was emotional and challenging work, and it took a long time. So, but I'm very proud of what we put together. So yeah, the audiobook is now out. We just published it a few weeks ago. So you can get the audiobook on iTunes, on Amazon, on Audible, pretty much wherever you would get an audiobook. So if you like consuming literature through audiobooks, which I do as well, sometimes it's really lovely to go take a walk and just listen to a book. I encourage you to get our book of This Sweet Life. And again, all of the proceeds benefit Seek Safely. What else did we have in that impact statement there? The Guru podcast and the Real Crime Profile podcast. So that was, again, in the summer of 2020, those two podcasts came out. And it was really interesting. Right away, we had so much interest. We had so many more people signing up for our newsletter. We had people contacting us saying, I heard about your story. We had a woman hear the story, and then she read our book, and then she wrote a song for us that uses the lyrics of the song are words from the book, both ours and Kirby's. And then she emailed us and shared it with us. So that was just like an amazing thing to have somebody be so moved by our story that she actually wrote a song. And so we were really excited because she was just so gracious and shared the song with us, and we put it in the audiobook. So you will also hear an original song that uses the words of the book in the song, which is just pretty amazing. So that woman's name is Lori Madsen, and I will be playing the song here in our live stream in a little bit. And then again, because of those podcasts, largely, we had so many people reach out to us. So we had not only people signing up for our newsletter, but we also had a lot of people, a lot of self-help practitioners signing the promise, which has been really amazing to, we put out that promise, I think, in 2011, and to have people, still connecting with that idea, and self-help practitioners who, they have the right idea. They want to help people, and they don't want to be part of the problem. They want to be part of the solution, having a self-help industry that is beneficial to people and not harmful to people. So we're really excited to have more self-help practitioners come on board with us. So I'm getting word that the Fred Scribner band is going to start soon. So I'm going to bring the Kirby Jam feed back in here so we can see what's going on there. Yep, I can see some musicians sitting down now, so I'm going to take them off mute and I'm going to pop out for a little bit and I'll let them play for about 10 minutes probably. All right, I'll be back in a bit.
Where did I go? Dad. Yeah, welcome everybody. All right. Welcome to the annual Kirby Jam. We are Midnight Slim with special guest Steve Geiger. We got Aaron and Marie from the Chromatics. We're gonna have a great show here tonight. Right now we got Lorianne coming up. Give it up for Lorianne.
Wait, baby, leave you all alone. And nobody called you on the phone. Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? And there's nothing but the smell of you. Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Cry to me. Whoa, nothing can be said that last one. Well, loneliness, such a waste of time. Oh, yeah, but you don't ever have to walk alone. You see, oh, baby, take my hand and won't you walk with me? Oh, yeah. Such a waste of time. Oh, yeah, we don't ever have to walk alone. See, oh, baby, take my hand and don't you walk with me. Oh, yeah, when you wait for the boys to come in the night. There is no one. Don't you feel like crying? 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 Don't you feel like crying, crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, baby. Come on, cry to me.
Give it up for Lori there.
Thank you, folks.
Everybody. I'm gonna pop out of the live event for a little while and then just continue our little virtual event here. One of the things that we talked about off the top when I was talking about our impact in the past year, I mentioned our legislation. So we were really grateful for our sponsors have worked really hard on the bill, and they've stuck with us. They communicate really well with us. We have a lot of back and forth with them. And they both put together some words for us to share with everybody tonight. So I am going to let you see those. So first, I'm going to show you our assembly sponsor, the Assemblywoman Sandy Galliff, and she was also a guest on our Roundtable podcast. So that was a really great episode. I think that was back in like March. So you can check that out as well. And here is Sandy.
So glad to join you at the Seek event today. And I know our message is very clear. We need to protect our residents and our consumers from very troubling self-help practitioners. And we all learned that through the loss of Kirby when she went to a self-help guru that intended to be of help to her and not cause her to lose her life. We are looking at all consumers who are being scammed here in the state of New York and working very hard on legislation to try to protect them as they contract or say yes to going to self-help providers. We are a little bit troubled by the words that we use for self-help practitioners, and we have to explore that further. And also establishing some kind of registry with the State Department in New York, so that people will have the education and the tools to be able to seek help from the appropriate people. So we have some work to do, and I very much appreciate all the help that SEEK offers to us. And we will be working with the Assembly and Senate people in state government to see if we can create the right bill and the bill that will get passed, and hopefully be a model for what we can use throughout the country. So thank you all for being there today, and let's keep working to be sure that what SEEK is trying to provide to all of us will be a part of New York State law. Thank you so much.
So yeah, as you can see, what Sandy was talking about with some of the language that we use in the bill, when we have a piece of legislation, the language needs to be really tight so that people can't kind of worm their way out of it, or so that you don't want it to be too ambiguous that people won't be able to, it won't be useful. So we have, it's interesting that this has come up as a challenge for the legislation, because this has been a challenge for us since we created SEEK. What is self-help? What is a self-help provider? It's a pretty broad category, and it only seems to get broader every year. Like I was talking about before with the issue of mental health, all of a sudden you have people who are really positioning themselves as mental health providers, but they don't actually have any background in mental health. They're not psychologists, they're not social workers. They just don't really have the training or really the knowledge to be providing that kind of help to people. And then, that's one end of the spectrum. And then all the way at the other end, you have things like yoga providers. Do they fall under the realm of self-help? In terms of this legislation, we would say no, because they're covered in other ways. But, if you go to some yoga studios, and I practice yoga myself, I love the practice. It's beautiful. Kirby did as well. But, you go to some studios and they start going beyond the practice of yoga and delving into more personal or motivational type things. So it can get confusing as to what exactly is self-help. And who exactly is a self-help provider. So the language that we have in the bill right now speaks specifically to unlicensed providers of, I wish I had it in front of me right now, but it's, people who are providing that kind of direction to people who are looking to make a change in their personal or in their professional life. So again, we're continuing to work with the legislators so we can make sure that the bill includes some really tight language that nobody can take issue with down the road. And the good news is too, a lot of times when there is legislation, it can not be perfect in its first iteration, and then it can go through some amendments later on. If we see that the bill becomes law and it seems to be leaving something out, you can always make amendments later. So that's always good to keep in mind as well. So again, we were really grateful to Assemblywoman Galef to provide us some words, and we're ever grateful for her support in getting the bill passed. So I'm also going to show you some words from Senator Skoufis as well.
Hi, everyone. State Senator James Skoufis here. I first want to congratulate Seek Safely for what promises to be a phenomenal and epic Kirby Jam 2021. The annual celebration of the lives of Kirby Brown, James Shore, and Elizabeth Newman directly supports Seek Safely in its mission to finally bring ethics and safety to the as yet unregulated self-help industry. And I say as yet, because I'm fighting alongside you to change that with my colleagues in the New York State Legislature, and we have to finally get this done next year. I've introduced a bill which would require self-help practitioners in New York State to disclose risks of their practice to clients, to produce a risk management plan, and to register and be held accountable by the Department of State. Self-help is an $11 billion a year industry. And we all know someone, a friend, a family member, a colleague, who has sought guidance or direction about their personal or professional trajectory from any of a number of sources. But for too long, lawmakers have turned a blind eye to the sometimes dangerous practices of self-help practitioners, leaving consumers open to financial, emotional, and even sometimes physical harm. We can and we should and we will do better, and I look forward to finally closing this loophole with Seek Safely to make sure that everyone in New York State is protected when they seek help. Have a phenomenal Kirby Jam, and thank you for bringing attention to these important issues. We should all be free to seek safely.
So there we go. I'm glad I was able to share that with you. As you can see, Senator Skoufis is he's like pretty fired up about this bill and very passionate about this issue. So we've been very grateful for all of his support throughout this process, and you can hear him like he's ready to get this done, and so are we. So we're very hopeful that this is going to be the year that we do get this bill passed. And one of the things with legislation that's pretty cool is that oftentimes when you have one state pass legislation about an issue, other states will look at that and kind of go, oh, like what is this that they're looking at? And the first bill that you get becomes the model for other states to put in their own legislation. This was one of the things that when we first said we knew we wanted to try to work to get some legislation passed after Kirby's death, we got some advice from different people that we knew in government and who have experience with legislation, and they said you gotta start small, start local, get it passed in one place, and then that's how you move on to the bigger stage from there. So that's what we've been doing. We've been working in New York because that's where we're from. That's where Kirby's from. And, in the past few years, it's been really interesting because you probably heard about NXIVM. And this was an organization in the Albany area that was, their front was a professional development organization that they were going to provide leadership development for people. And then in the end, it was a cult. And we've said a lot as we've done this work with Seek, self-help isn't necessarily cults. The event that Kirby was at was not a cult. It felt in some ways a little bit culty, but it wasn't a cult. However, these unethical self-help providers that end up really taking advantage of their customers, they often use a lot of tactics that are very similar to cults. And so we've started to see that in a way it's like a bit of a spectrum. It starts out as something pretty benign, something that may actually be really helpful to people, but those methods of control get closer and closer to the idea of a cult. And NXIVM is an organization that, again, on its surface, it looked like a self-help organization, but as it went deeper and deeper and the people who were involved got deeper into it, it really was a cult. And so in the past few years, there have been a few documentaries and a few podcasts about that. It's a pretty horrifying story. It's also, it's pretty fascinating as well. And one of the things that I really appreciated about some of the pieces that were put together about NXIVM is that it really showed how the people who got sucked into this organization, they weren't like they weren't wackos, like they weren't totally out there. They weren't people who you would have looked at and said, oh, these people are damaged or vulnerable necessarily. They were people who were really motivated. A lot of them were at the edge of finding more success in their careers, and they wanted like that little push to go further. And one of the things that I found really interesting about NXIVM is that people started out as actors, filmmakers, musicians who were very, very talented individuals and like had a real trajectory in front of them for their careers. And once they got involved in this organization and they got really sucked in, all of those aspirations kind of fell to the sidelines as they got pulled into this organization. And that is something that we have seen in self-help as well. I find it really interesting that a lot of people who go to a self-help event, and sometimes it's because they want to, take their business to the next level. A lot of them are entrepreneurs and, they're trying to create a path for themselves. A lot of them suddenly become, their aspirations are to be life coaches or to be motivational speakers, and they're sort of replicating what they have experienced in this self-help program that they chose to use as a resource. They start replicating for themselves, and you kind of wonder, well, what happened to the aspirations that first brought you to this resource, and why are you, leaving those things behind? And I really appreciated how that I found was really demonstrated very well in the NXIVM story. And also the people who eventually really started speaking out about the organization show a tremendous amount of courage. And again, they're people that they feel like normal people, whatever that word means. They feel like, people that you and I would know and interact with all the time. They're not like woo-woo, new agey people. And we've said over and over again, these are exactly the type of people that we're interested in helping at Seek. And these are the people that use self-help. So one of the women who's featured in the Vow, which aired on HBO, Sarah Edmondson, we've actually had some contact with her recently, and we're really excited about having kind of made that contact and seeing how we might be able to help each other out, because our missions, are pretty similar after her experience. I've also had some contact with India Oxenberg, whose story was featured in the Stars series. And, she's really wonderful and sweet as well. And again, I'm really grateful to all the people who went through that experience and then have been sharing their stories as a cautionary tale for others. So, that's just a little more about our legislative effort and where we're at the moment. Now I'm going to actually give you I'm going to show you a little bit of what is in our auction that you can find so that, you can go there and place some bids.
It's a beautiful piece of art that Kate did, and This is George's pandemic art. So during the pandemic, George and I were doing barn art. So these other pieces are barn art, our contributions to the auction. Over on that table, we have the raffles. So those are the red tickets. So please buy a bunch of raffle tickets and then we can give out some of those prizes. Okay, so we have the virtual auction up here. There are some additional things that, okay. So you have that going. Mike has that going. Maybe. Well, Mike is getting that up. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned who's right here, and her husband Gary has been at every single Kirby Jam since we started. So let's give it up for my sister and her husband. And 80th birthday, just turned 80. So he's gonna have to dance with me by the end of the month. I wanted to introduce Dr. Glenn Doyle, who's on our board and is soon to take over as board president. So Glenn is here with us, helping us out. And of course you met Bobby, right? So we had a tough time getting people here. People both concerned about the virus and the Delta variant. So we have some virtual items there: wine tasting, cooking lessons, voice lessons, guitar lessons. So these are all things that are on this virtual auction. So we're hoping that you'll take the opportunity to go on the virtual auction and do some bidding. I'm selling our book. So the soft cover version is $15. The hardcover is $25. And the books are over there on the table. So if you're interested in buying a book, please see me or Glenn or Debbie, who is taking money if you need change. And we're going to do a little bit of promo now on the book. Okay? It's so great to have a tech guy. That's what I need in my life. You think that's upside down? Okay, Mike, if you can cue up the song. So it was my privilege to write this story with my youngest daughter, Jean, who's an amazing writer. When I found out she was interested in writing a book with me, I said, oh, definitely, now I'll do this, because she's like really good. So it was April quite the experience.
2021. April 2021. I was sifting through Seek's emails and came across an interesting message. The subject read, "A Gift of Song." Lori Madsen is a singer-songwriter, and as she describes, she writes her music intuitively. After hearing Ginny on the Guru podcast, Lori read our book and was then inspired to write a song using the words of the book, some ours, some Kirby's, as the lyrics. When I listened to Lori's song, I realized how she had been so deeply touched by Kirby. We are so happy to include Lori's song on this audiobook and are grateful to her for giving it to us freely. Music by Lori Madsen, www.themusictarot.com. Mixed by Brian Daly, at DNA Music Labs, Madison, Wisconsin.
It is more important to know how she is remembered. She wanted to expand, I believe. She was in search of her treasure, but I knew she hadn't made that choice. Give me wisdom to be Kirby's voice. There is a reason for every boulder to go over or around. It all has a purpose in that open space in the river. The wind flows through the trees. These rhythmic dances are healing to the soul. Threads of an angry defiance began to weave together to create a steely resolve. There is a reason for every boulder to go over or around. It all has a purpose in that open space in the river. The wind flows through the trees. These rhythmic dances are healing to the soul. Enjoy this sweet life. Enjoy this sweet life. Enjoy this sweet life. Enjoy this sweet life. We will 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 enjoy this sweet life.
Seek safely.
Wow.
The same thing with the book. All of the proceeds of the book go back to the organization. So if you haven't read the book, I would urge you to either get the audio. This song is attached to the end of the audiobook. So we were just kind of blown away. But to me, it was kind of a testimony to how powerful Kirby's spirit was. I was just dancing before with Dan, and I said, this is what she was about. She was the reason we've done this event often with music is because this was Kirby. This was Kirby's spirit, this blues and jazz and supporting musicians and new, creative ventures. So it feels like her, when we do something with lots of music. And as much as I miss her and wish she was still here, I know that she would want us to be living with unbridled joy, because that's how she lived her life too. So I don't know if George wants to say any words. If he can I can't reach it that far. Okay.
My knee is not working.
Your knee is not working tonight. It's okay, hon. So you can talk right from there,
I
George.
miss her so much.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'll start. I miss her. I was sitting out in the barn the other day thinking about some more pandemic art. And I got aware of it being quiet. And then I missed her. 10 years later, it's still right in my back. But something about Kirby that she always carried with her. And there at the door, practice compassion. Always. When we went to Chinatown, she would have me get $5 for quarters. So that while we were in meetings, she would give it to the guys who were living in the crates under the federal building so that they could get something to eat.
Well, they were feeding our parking meter for us, so
Right.
we wouldn't get a ticket.
They fed the parking meter, and he said it was a deal. And she did that wherever she went.
And then we'd bring them food at the end of the meal.
Right.
They're helping us out to feed the parking meter. So that's the kind of thing that Kirby did all the time. So that message of practicing compassion is one that we would like all of you to take with you as a result of coming here to support Seek. And we're grateful.
I see her life as being an invitation to all of us to practice compassion for people we don't really know, and for the people that we always practice compassion. They love you, you love them. Enjoy.
Thanks. So in the spirit of Kirby, everyone who is here definitely has to get up and dance at least once while you're here. This is awesome, amazing music. I am so grateful to Fred Scribner for putting this together and having these amazingly talented musicians here to entertain us. So make sure you get out there and, shake it up a little bit, Okay, thanks.
Sorry, I think I was muted before when I didn't mean to be. It's interesting jumping back and forth between the live event and then trying to do this here on my end. So apologies for any weirdness. But yeah, unfortunately, I think it was challenging to hear my dad, George, talking, but he was talking about how Kirby lived her life with a lot of compassion. And I think that, I found in the last couple of years, I found myself really missing her very deeply. I always miss her, of course, but I think the world is a little short on compassion these days, and she was definitely somebody who would have been, I wanted to say knocking people over the head with a message of compassion, which sounds absurd, but it's how she would have done it. She would have been like, come on, guys, just be nice to each other. This is ridiculous. So anyway, hopefully, if you knew Kirby, I think it's good for all of us to kind of remember her spirit in that way. And if you didn't know Kirby, I hope maybe through seeing the way that we have operated as an organization, maybe reading our book, you would get a little bit of a sense of her spirit. So yeah, again, on the topic of the book, as you saw, that song was written by Laurie Madsen. And again, she took the words from the book that she uses as the lyrics in the song. So some of the words are words that my mother and I wrote, and then some of the words are words that we included in the book that come from some of Kirby's journals. So we had the journal from the Spiritual Warrior, and then a couple of other journals that we pulled quotes from. And so, yeah, we have that song on the audiobook, and this is a little bit about Laurie Madsen as well. Here, I'm going to make this so that it's not moving around here. And there we go. So again, we were just so grateful to Laurie for sharing that song with us. It was a beautiful song. Sometimes I just have it in my head and I'll just be kind of singing it as I'm walking around. And yeah, it was just really an amazing thing to just one day open up the email and there was this song and I was like, oh my goodness, this is really wild. And we've since met her and virtually, and she's really just an amazing, kind person. And she seemed really just lit up by this experience of being inspired to write this song. So I think for all of us, it was just kind of an amazing sort of miracle. And we were really excited to be able to put the song in the audiobook. So again, if you get the audiobook, you'll have the song at the end of it. And we're also working on figuring out how else we can release the song. Laurie really wanted us to be able to sell it as a means of supporting Seek. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. So you can obviously, once we have that available to people to download, we'll be sharing that with everybody. I'm going to check in with the event here and see. It looks like they're just sort of milling about. So maybe we don't want to pop in there right now. That's fine. Here. So yeah, again, our book is available on Amazon or, your local bookstore if you want to support your local bookstore, which is great. They can order it for you. And then the audiobook is available wherever you would get audiobooks. So I think the last couple of things that I want to do here, because we don't want to have a live stream go on forever. That's not so exciting for people. I wanted to just take a little bit of time to thank our sponsors. So again, this event for us, this Kirby Jam event, is like the primary way that we make money throughout the year. And it's not a lot of money, but that's okay. We don't, we can function on what we can work with what we have. We'd always love to have more, but we make do. And most of the money that we get comes from this event. So it's sponsors of the event, and it's people participating in the auction and people making donations. So we're very grateful to all of the people who donated items for the auction. Again, most of the items that we have are donated by our supporters, and people are donating items, they're donating their time and their talents. And we are just so grateful to all of them for making that auction available. As I said earlier, we love the idea of the auction because it's a way for you to support Seek that also has a benefit for you too. So we're very grateful to everybody who donated. And then I'm going to show you just some of our sponsors as well. We're so grateful to our sponsors who, are just happy to support Seek as an organization, and always, a lot of them every year kick in a bit of money to help make the event possible and to support our work. And we're very grateful to them as well. So here are some of our sponsors for this year. Yeah, so like I said, a lot of those sponsors have been with us year after year. And then we also had a number of new sponsors this year, which was like just amazing. So we are very grateful to all of them. We will keep our sponsor information available for people, because if these are businesses or organizations that are local to you, yeah, we definitely ask you to support them and thank them for supporting us as well. So yeah, I'll put that information up on our website and on our Facebook page and everything. So I hear that the music is going to start up again. So I think what I will do here is give you a little bit more of the music, and then I will be ending our broadcast for the evening, because we don't want to have a live stream going on for hours and hours and hours. So for everyone who has joined me tonight, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love getting the comments and knowing that people were there watching us. I can see Mary just said that I think she means in the slideshow on the song, that was my kitten Snowflake, 1975 probably. Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Kirby was holding a little kitten, and it was our cousin Mary's. Thank you so much, Mary, for being with us. Yeah, I'm going to bring us back to the event now and see if we can hear a little bit of music before we go out here on the live stream.
No such thing. Oh, let Frank get set.
Let's get ready. Boss gets ready. The commander is getting ready. Commander.
We don't commander Cody.
The old commander.
Okay. You ready? We're doing the set list right Put on your red dress, baby, 'cause we're going out tonight. Put on your red dress, baby, 'cause we're going out tonight.
case a fool might wanna fight. Put on your high heel sneakers and your weekend on your head. Put on your high heel sneakers and your weekend on your head. You better watch out, darling, in case a fool is right. Hey, Steve. Come on, Fred, play some. Put on your high heel sneakers and your weekend on your head. Put on your high heel sneakers and your weekend on your head. Well, you better watch out, baby, 'cause you know you really don't know.
Let's boogie, baby.
The baby loves to boogie, she loves to boogie all night long. The baby loves to boogie, she loves to boogie all night long. But I love my baby when the boogie shoes is on. She says she likes my style. I tell her I'm a man. She says she likes my style. I tell her I'm a man. When I try to be there as often as I can. Baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. Baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. Well, I love my baby when the boogie shoes on. We ain't got no dough, we got no place to go. We ain't got no dough, we got no place to go. I love my baby when she starts to roll around real slow. Baby loves the boogie, she loves the boogie all night long. Baby loves the boogie, she loves the boogie all night long. I love my baby when the boogie shoes on. Come on, Fred Edmondson. Come on, Fred, take me with me. Steve Geiger on my heart. Take those shoes back on your feet. I love you, baby, but in my sleep. You run my rock, you rock my roll, but if you don't start the boogie, you're gonna boogie down. All night long. When I love my baby, when the boogie shoes is on. Oh, what time song now? Baby loves the boogie all night long. Baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. When I love my baby, the boogie shoes is on. One more time, down real low. Say now, baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. Baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. When I love my baby, when the boogie shoes is on. Wow, real powerful. Now baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. Well, baby loves the boogie and she loves the boogie all night long. I love my baby, We're dancing.
I think he gets the award for the year. Best award of 2020.
Oh my God. Dr. Glenn making an appearance on the live stream. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to call it a night. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to keep partying. I'm going to go eat some food now, too. Have a great night, everybody. Again, we always appreciate everyone's support, and we're very grateful to all of you always. And you can always learn more about what we're up to on our website, on our Facebook page, and yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.